Good morning, Kahal Kadosh, Beruchim Abayim to everybody. Today, Wednesday, the 5th of Adar, corresponding to the 17th day of February. Today's class, graciously sponsored by Jacob Dweck and family, honoring his dear parents, Yosef ben Rachel and Galila bat Victoria Dweck Cohen. Yiratzon, that to the words of Torah, Hashem bless this beautiful couple with arichut yamim b'shanim tovot, with long life, with health, longevity, amen. Today the Gemara is going to share with us certain suggestions in the topic of real estate. So in English, there is a concept that when they ask you about real estate, there are three magic words: location, location, location. We all agree on that. Location means a lot of different things. Sometimes could be how close to the synagogue, waterfront, ocean view, parking lot view, area, etc. But today we're going to discuss a bit the financial and the spiritual real estate suggestions from the Talmud. So this comes from the tractate Baba Messiah, page 107. Amar le Rabbi Yehuda le Rabin bar Nachman, Rabin achi, lo tizvan ar'a desemicha le'ata. Do not buy a field, do not buy a piece of land that is close to the town. Why not? The short answer will be because the crops in such a field may be conducive to damage. Now, what kind of damage are we referring to? So one opinion says that because it's so close to the town, people may just walk to take a shortcut. But other opinion says no, because the people of the town constantly looking at your land, beyesh hashash shema itenu bah ayn hara. Rashi says very simple. If it's next to the entrance of the town, every passerby, everyone that's coming in and out, by default, they're going to look at your field and they're going to start making comments. Wow, what a beautiful crop. Wow, wow. And that wow comment and that what a beautiful crop, although you can avoid that people will be making a statement, and that's why we avoid doing things which are flashy for this particular reason. We don't want to attract the eye for people to make comments about anything that we own, have, drive, or wear. And that's why many people are very sensitive in the color vehicles they get. And that's why the dealership knows that certain colors, they can ask for a premium. For example, yellow. For example, red. Why these two colors? Because automatically it attracts the eye of everyone to look around. Like many years ago, there was a commercial, actually a billboard on the street that says, "Be the envy of the block." What does it mean? That this company guaranteed you that if you will drive their car, people will turn their head to look at the car. Yani you will attract automatic guaranteed ayn hara, something that goes completely the opposite of what the Talmud is telling us today. The Amar Rabbi Abhu Amar Rabuna Amar Rav. Just a disclaimer. Sometimes when I read the Talmud, I read a lot of words in Hebrew that I don't translate, because this refers the name of the sages and who they heard it from and who they heard it from. So to maximize the time, I don't translate the sentence of the name, but this rabbi said, Asur lo la'adam sheya'amod al sedeh havero bekomoteha. It is forbidden for a person to stand in their fellow's fields besha'a she'omedet bekamoteha, during the time that the crop is standing. And the reason is very simple, because the crop may be damaged by envy, known as evil eye or the ayn hara. So therefore the Gemara writes, better to have a certain distance from the entrance of the town. Now, Rashi explains further that by looking at it, Ain Hara, it may cause damage. Continues the Gemara. Hold on a minute. You're just telling me that you should not have your field by the entrance of the town. But we find a contradiction. What is the contradiction? We find Rabbi Abba that who said to the students of Rav, Mai Amar Rab Kahana Kira'eh, there is a pasuk, Baruch Ata Ba'ir, Ubaruch Ata Basadeh, blessed shall you be in the city, blessed shall you be in the field, Baruch Ata Bebo'echa, Ubaruch Ata Besetecha, blessed are you when you arrive, and blessed are you when you depart. Be'amrule, and the student said, no, that's not what the rabbi meant. Baruch Ata Ba'ir, blessed are you in the city, Sheye Betecha Samuch LaBet HaKnesset. Let make sure that your home is close to the synagogue. What does it mean? It says, the Maharsha explains that in the olden days, synagogues were out of town. Basically, they were outside of the outskirts of the city, and everybody will walk there. But the Gemara says that if you have the merit and the zechut of living in an area which a synagogue is nearby your home, which in today's society, that's the way it is. A Jew first look at the synagogue, and then you rent a house or buy an apartment or whatever you decide to do. But obviously, the synagogue must be a focal point of our decision. Baruch Ata Basadeh, blessed shall you be in the field, Shiyu Nechasecha Kerobim La'ir, that your property, your assets will be close to the city. Rashi explains, very simple. When it's close to you, you are able to keep an eye on matters in a much better way than in a remote way. And although the word remote today, it's part of our vocabulary, and especially with the current situation, thousands upon thousands upon thousands are working remotely, but when it comes to a field, you really cannot work remotely. You can work remotely when it comes to technology, wealth management, asset management, etc. When it comes to a piece of land, that the work and the crop and the harvesting and everything else is a physical labor, better be close to it. Now, it goes even further. Baruch Ata Beboecha, blessed shall you be in when you're coming, שלא תמצא אישה ספק נידה בשעה ביתך מן הדרך, that you shall not find your wife that is possibly nida when you come from the road. What does it mean? It actually is giving a blessing, and it seems to be in a good way. The Maharsha explains that husband and wife were separated, and now if he is nida, if she is nida, dafka specifically when he arrived, so he will keep away because he understands that as much as he missed his wife, she's not ready for him yet until she goes to the mikveh, etc. But it says that maybe the wife will be safek nida. She doesn't know. She saw something. She may be nida or she may not be nida. So it's a catch-22. So it's a catch-22. Part of the Yetzer Hara may say, no, she's not, and God forbid may do something with actually she is. Or maybe he says, let's be more strict and not to do anything, and maybe he became strict unnecessarily. So obviously, in today's society, it's not difficult, that situation. If you have a question, you pick up the phone, or you send a message to your local Orthodox rabbi, and Be'ezat Hashem, your rabbi will be able to guide you accordingly. But in the olden days, how people handle it. So part of the blessing was that the wife should be pure when the husband comes back from his trip, which is the way many couples work. If the husband needs to travel for work. And the Gemara brings another one, Baruch atah besetecha, blessed are you upon your arrival, or upon your departure rather, sheyehu b'se'esa'e me'echa kemotcha, may your children be exactly like you. Now, this is the way that this opinion explains these pesukim. Living close to the synagogue, number one. Number two, the assets should be close to the city where the person lives, that the children should follow in the footsteps of the Torah, and the wife should not be questionable nidah upon the arrival from his journey. Let's see now a whole different angle of how the Gemara will explain the following different opinions. Amar lehu. Comes Rabbi Abba and he says to his students, I believe that Rabbi Yohanan had a different perspective on this part. And it says, Baruch atah ba'ir, blessed shall you be in the city, sheyeh bet hakiseh samuch leshulchanecha, that the restroom may be close to your table. What does it mean? Usually refers that a person, Rabbi Yohanan says, that a person should have a restroom accessible very close to where they live. Obviously, for today, this statement may be irrelevant. Usually, the apartment that a person lives or the house that a person lives, it has bathrooms and bedrooms. So therefore, going to the bathroom in one's home is easy. But imagine yourself that you are traveling, and now you are traveling, and now you see the sign that says, next rest area, 26 miles. And now suddenly you feel that you need to use the restroom. So therefore the Gemara writes in Masechet Shabbat that it is appropriate that a person should be internally clean prior to sitting down to eat, especially if the person feels the need of relieving themselves. The Gemara in Shabbat says, use the restroom first, because this will benefit the processing of the intestinal tract in the body, and therefore it's beneficial for the satisfaction of the food as well. That's what the Gemara explained, quoted by Rashi. Abal bet hakneset, but when it comes to a synagogue, la, Rabbi Yohanan says you don't need to live right next door to the synagogue. Rabbi Yohanan leta'ameh. Why Rabbi Yohanan says such a thing? The Amar sechar pesiot yesh. It says, hold on a minute, there is reward for every step that a person takes to go to the synagogue. There is a mitzvah every step. Now, this is beautiful. This is beautiful when certain circumstances are met. First of all, we need to have in mind the age of the person. We need to have in mind the weather of the person, area where he or she lives. And, I said the age and I said the weather. I think these are enough. And the distance. A person may find a good deal in Hialeah, and you're going to walk to the synagogue 5 miles every Shabbat each way? Obviously not. Or what happens if it's freezing cold and you live a mile away, or it's raining hard and you live a mile away? So for today, practical lesson from the Talmud, yes, there is the Sechar Pesiot, yes, there is the reward for every step, but Hacham Einav Berosho. The person must also activate the common sense that if you're going to live far, and rain, and humidity, and heat, and snow, and hurricanes, whatever, hurricanes you can't really control, but the rest of the stuff that's commonly happen in the north or in the south, so you need to be a Hacham and live close enough to the synagogue. Anyways, nobody lives literally next door to the synagogue. Even if the building is next door, you need to walk half a block, or 2 blocks, or 3 blocks, 6 blocks, 7 blocks. It all depends on the age of the person. In the younger years, it's easier. But as a person becomes older, especially a person reaches 70, 80, 90, to come to shul by itself is a bit challenging. Continues the Gemara. Baruch atah basadeh shiu nechasecha meshullashim. That the property, your land, should be divided into 3 different types of items. Number 1, the Gemara says, betevua, a third in grain, shelish bezetim, a third in olives, and shelish begefanim, and a third in vines. And he explains the reason why. Rashi and the Maharsha says, not every season is perfect for the grain, for the olives, or for the wine. Sometimes it's good for one, sometimes it's not good for the other. But if you're going to do only one item, and this item for different reasons of time and temperatures and weather didn't yield enough for you to live, that's going to create some type of challenge to the person. So therefore, like the Gemara will say later, the concept to diversify investment, a third in real estate, a third in cash, and a third in goods. So the field is the same. Every grain, olives, and grapes, they take different seasons of the years and they function in a different way. So this way, as I say in the world of investment, you have to diversify your portfolio. And that's exactly what the Gemara is saying. Diversify your field for your financial peace of mind. Beautiful message of the Talmud. Baruch atah beboecha ubaruch atah besetecha. The second verse that we mentioned, blessed shall you be when you come in, and blessed shall you be when you go out. It says, Rabbi Yohanan, this refers to the life of the person. Shetehei yesiatecha min ha'olam keviatecha la'olam. Like your departure from the world should be like your arrival to the world. How does a person arrive to the world? The Gemara answers, Ma biatecha belo la'olam belo het. The same way that the arrival of a person. When a brand new baby is born, there are no sins to be accounted for because he's a baby. Av yesiatecha min ha'olam belo het. Also, the departure of the world should be without sins. What does it mean? That a person lived a proper and a suitable spiritual way of life, and thus teshuvah has a way of life and lives the world in a very pious and a beautiful way. Beautiful, beautiful Gemara. The Gemara discusses one more. It says, you mentioned to me in the beginning that I should not own a field next to the entrance of the city. But the Gemara brings a statement that says, hold on, that is true as long as the land is exposed. But the Gemara writes, Ha de me'ader leshura beritka. It says, hold on a minute. It says there is a way to circumvent the Ain Hara. How? The Gemara says, very simple. Put an edge or a wall around the field. If you build, for example, a 6-foot wall, okay, 7 to be safe. Maybe it's an NBA player that is 6 and change, like you see it sometimes. Maybe they have even over 7. I'm not an expert in that, but you can imagine that usually basketball players are very tall. So make it 8-footer, 8-foot wall. This way, nobody will look. And this way you achieve 2 things. You protect yourself from the Ain Hara. You protect yourself of people seeing it. That's why you put an edge. You put like a surrounding wall. And in the area of the front where people will look, you protect yourself of the Ain Hara by building this wall, this partition, etc. Very, very interesting. One more. Rav says one more powerful thing on the Ain Hara topic. The pasuk says, "Be'esir Hashem mimecha kol choli." So it's a verse in the Sefer Devarim that says that Hashem will remove from you all illness. Amar Rav, Rav says, Zo Ain. This refers to the Ain Hara, that is the source of illnesses. How many of them? According to the way Rashi and the way the Gemara writes it, Kol, all. This is according to his opinion. Now, the Rav Salig lebekabre, Rav once went to the cemetery. Avad maide avad. He did what he did. What does it mean? It says that Rav had the power to understand through communication with the spirit of the deceased of why they died. Interesting. That's why the Gemara says, Abad maide abad. He did whatever he did and discovered the reason of why each person died. Obviously today, unfortunately, we have many medical reasons to justify this, but nevertheless, it's important to know this Gemara. Amar tish'im betish'a be'ain hara. It says Rav, 99 out of 100 died because of ain hara. Be'echad bederech eres. And one from natural causes. This is something unbelievable that the Gemara tells us. Now, let me just find one thing. I was looking for a certain Tosafot. So basically, what the Ain Hara causes is envy. And that's why every day in the morning, when we say Bikot HaShahar, what do we say? Me'ain hara. Hashem saved me from evil eye. And, people sometimes are exposed, or people may be successful, and that attracts something. That's why it's important to avoid, when possible, not to draw too much attention. That's why the Talmud says, Ena beracha mesuya, ela bedabara samui min ha'ain. Blessings can be found on items which are isolated from the eye. The eye has much power than we think. And that's why the Mishnah always say, Ain Tova. Ain Tova means an abundant eye, a pleasant eye, etc. So the Gemara says further, Ushmuel, and Shmuel says, hold on a minute. Why do you say that most people die because of the Ain Hara? Ze haruach, the concept of the wind. Now wind, we can call it virus, bacteria, things that the earth transfers or transports. Ushmuel de ta'ameh. And Shmuel says, this is the reason. Hakol beruach. Belishmuel, if you're telling me that the earth carries all kinds of maladies, illnesses, bacteria and viruses the way we are accustomed to speak today, Ha'ika haruge malchut. But what about those that are killed by the government? They had not died by a wind or by a virus. Answers the Gemara, Hanachname ilav zika. If would have not been for the wind that carries the bacteria that blows on the wound, Abdelehu Same Behaye, they will be able to apply medicine and they will be able to heal, according to the opinion of Shmuel. And it says here an interesting concept. And it says that that's an homeopathic way. So it says that certain herbs can cause that the cut of the flesh, they heal together. Chinese medicine. If you follow some of Chinese medicine, they use a lot of herbs, which actually is not Chinese. This goes back to the time of the Rambam, to the time of the Maimonides, that plants were utilized to heal as well. So Rashi says that the proper herbs and the lack of certain type of wind can expedite the healing of the person. Very interesting way that the Gemara looks at it, the way the Gemara will discuss it. Now, next week, bear with me a moment, is going to be Erev Purim. So I'm tempted to go over next week's Gemara of Wednesday, because I figured that Wednesday, Thursday, we will dedicate the class to Purim mostly. Friday being Purim, a class may be challenging, since we have many minyanim and many megillot and many mitzvot to fulfill. So with your permission, I'd like to go further, a few more lines in the Gemara of next week that talks about the topic of breakfast and different areas of life. Comes the Gemara and it says, Rabbi Hanina Amar, Zo Sina. Sina means catching a cold. You know, people travel. I travel, came back with a cold. Baruch Hashem, everything is fine. But just the change of air, it affects the person. The Amar Rabbi Hanina, Hakol bidei shamayim. Everything is from the heavens. Chutz misinim pahim. With the exception of the cold. And it says that being exposed to the cold, it's a natural reaction that the body may fight it. And that's why you say catching a cold. So now, the Gemara goes further. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Hanina Omer, Zo So'a. It says this refers to the secretions of the body. The Amar Mor, So'ata Hotem, secretions of the nose and the ear, the wax in the ear, Rubam Kasha, excess of them are problematic for the person, Umi'utan Yafe, but having limited amount is okay for the body. And that's why people clean the ears, and sometimes children are taken to the doctor and they use a candle, a wax candle, to melt and to take away the wax that occasionally can build in the ears of the child, and obviously keeping the nose clean. According to the Gemara, this seems to be important elements of life. The Gemara goes even further. Kol mahala refers zo mara. What is the mara? The mara is the gallbladder, something very small that is right on the upper area of the digestive system, if I remember the diagram correctly. And it says, Tanya Nameachi, mahala, removal of sickness, zo mara. It's called the gallbladder. Belama nikra shema mahala. And why the Torah calls it sickness? Shehi mahala kol gufo shel ha'adam. Because how the digestive system area is, especially in the area of the gallbladder, that can determine how the rest of the body will function. Davar acher, mahala, The word mahala, numerical value, 83, ששמונים ושלושה חולאים תלויים במראה, because there are 13 adverse sicknesses that are connected to whatever it's happening in the area of the gallbladder. Bechulan, and how do you take care of it, or how do you prevent them of activating? Pat shaharit b'melach, eating in the morning bread with salt. Bekiton shel mayim, and drinking a pitcher of water. Mebatelan, it powers to neutralize them in the body of the person. Now, let's see what the Gemara discusses. Tanu Rabbanan, our sages teach us, Shelosha asar devarim neemru bepat shaharit. 13 things were said about the morning bread. Many people do eat bread. Maselet mina hamma umina sina. It saves the person from the heat or from the cold, meaning to say, fortifies the body of the person. Umina zikin, umina mazikin. Wow. And from the wind, meaning to say the winds that are harmful, or the demons, which thank God they're not around us, but sometimes they look for customers and they look for weak bodies. Umahkimat peti, and it makes the foolish smarter. What does it mean? That when a person is starving, the mind doesn't think in the same way like when the person's stomach is satisfied. Bezoche bedin, and makes someone successful in litigations. The Hidushei Aretz says, what happened if the other litigant also had breakfast? So it means, in plain English, that both parties will be able to expose their points in the bedin in a proper way. Lilmod Torah ulelamed. It helps someone to study Torah and to be able to teach Torah. Udbarav nishma'im, and the words of the person are being heard. Now, be'en betarmudo mitkayem beyado, and the learning remains with the person. Be'en besaro ma'ale hevel, and the flesh does not produce excessive sweat that may cause odor to the body of the person. Beniskak leishto, and this is an interesting one, he thinks of his wife, ve'eno mitave leisha acheret, and does not desire other wives, and therefore it says that it puts the person in the proper mood and in the proper mindset to think morally properly and to act morally properly as well. Behoreget kina shevene me'ain, and also eating bread kills the bacteria which sometimes is living in the intestines of the person. Beyesh omrim, and there is another opinion who says eating bread in the morning, or today we can call it eating breakfast. I personally don't eat bread with the exception of Shabbat, Yom Tov, Rosh Chodesh. During the week I eat something lighter. Okay? But Baruch Hashem, I manage okay. Beyesh omrim, and some say, Mosi et hakin'ah umachnis et ahava, expels jealousy and brings friendliness. If you look in the commentaries, it says, very simple, Rashi says, if the person is not in a good spirit, meaning to say, if the person had dinner yesterday and didn't eat nothing and come straight to work to the office, he's going to have certain level of crankiness. And that crankiness causes the person to become easily angered, according to Rashi. So therefore, the Gemara says that by eating some bread in the morning, the spirit of the person is improved, and by the spirit being improved, the character of the person will be nicer, he will be less cranky, he will be happier, and he will be friendlier. This is the message of today's Gemara, which is a fascinating message that talks about the concept of the importance of breakfast, The Gemara goes further, but for today, I think that we cover the beautiful messages about real estate portfolio investment, and we learn also the importance and the necessities of having breakfast. I wish everybody to have a beautiful, beautiful day. Be'ezat Hashem, we'll resume the class tomorrow at approximately 9:15 via itorah.com. And we say Tizkela Mitzvot to our dear friend and member Jacob Dweck for graciously sponsoring today's class, honoring his beloved parents. May Hashem give him arichut yamim b'shanim tovot, with health, with happiness, and nachat from all the children. Have a great day, everybody. Shalom aleichem and aleichem shalom.